Up we go.
Hello.
So we will call the meeting of the finance committee. We'll call the meeting of the finance committee to order. I apologize for the delay. We had some technical difficulties, but we'll take a roll call. We did a voice vote since we have one member on the committee, so we'll say Barbara Seals.
Here.
Paul Connors. Here. Dr. Chavez.
Here.
Joe Reardon.
Here.
And Eric Beckman, the chair, we're all present. So we will go into first fiscal 24 third supplemental budget and transfer request with revenue update. Mr. Director.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, members of the Finance Committee this evening. Bill, I don't know if you can put up the presentation for the benefit of the gentleman who's open. In addition to the usual supplemental transfer offerings at these quarterly meetings, I'm offering an update on our revenue position, which is prompting us to take some action, which I'd like to get into. So as the agenda on page 2 shows, you'll receive this revenue update followed by the supplemental and transfer needs, which are relatively modest. Brief observations ahead, and there is one proposed motion. Slide 3 begins the dialogue about our revenue update. The county treasurer produces a monthly trial balance, which we use to guide our collections in this case. The collections related to revenue show decline against baseline. Our finance team has assessed this data collected to date, and not surprisingly, it mirrors the real estate reality that many of us recognize is associated with rising interest rates and U.S. Treasury actions to curb inflation. While the budget FY24 revenue categories were largely level, we built this budget to FY23. The precipitous drop in collection shows a projected shortfall today of $1,062,281. So effectively, we take what we know today, project out how those numbers, if they stay the same, will look on June 30th. That's our deficiency. A lot can happen. So if you go to slide 4, Bill, thank you. You can see how these revenues have acted against the revenues that were planned in our FY24 budget. The largest pieces obviously are the registry transaction fees, $778,000 below baseline, and the registry deeds excise, which is over $917,000 below benchmark. There are 2 other numbers I'll call your attention to. Offsetting this deficiency includes collection of $613,000 in receipts. That is the rent that the county is collecting this fiscal year from the Commonwealth of Quincy District Court. It's one-time revenue. As the board members may recognize, the Commonwealth purchased Quincy on July 7th, and since then they've been paying us. We've been collecting rent for them for the costs associated with our staffing, utility payments, and operational costs. And then furthermore, down towards the bottom, there's a negative $279,000 for reimbursements for shared service incomes. That revenue was booked, presuming that was a reimbursement we received in FY24. It was CARES Act money that we actually got in FY23. So that's a deficiency by itself. But absent, I should say, the registry deeds transactional impact, which totals approximately 1.6 million. If we didn't have that, we'd be in a decent position against baseline. Okay. What is our plan to address this shortfall? Utilizing the majority of our remaining FY20 surplus plus savings from spending hiring freeze, which the county commissioners voted upon today, the county will be able to offset the deficiency through this responsible mid-year fiscal planning. Briefly, in a couple of seconds, I'll show you a slide, but following the September 13th meeting of the advisory board, the county had $961,000 in our FY24 surplus. This plan that we are proposing would set aside $735,000 of this surplus, plus estimated savings of $335,000 from spending hiring freeze. Incidentally, please make that note. 735 is incorrect. It is 730. I apologize for the edit. Or as Mr. Buckley would call it, a Scribner error. Scribner or Scribner?
Scrivener.
E.
Well, Scrivener is the publishing house.
Thank you, Mr. Buckley. Furthermore, this plan will result in an FY 24 supplemental balance dropping approximately $144,000. Turn to slide 6, you'll see what that looks like. I'm showing the position as of the end of September, your last meeting, and this. I'll call your attention to the balances. After that meeting, you had 961. After this meeting, you'll have 144, excuse me, and you can see the offsets. So we're going to set aside or not spend $730,000 of that surplus. In effect, by doing so, it becomes what most of us would call free cash. It'll roll into our unexpended balance so we can close fiscal year 24 productively. The savings that are associated with the hiring spending freeze just become similarly a surplus unspent. I'm going to talk about that in just a second. So we will continue to monitor the impact of these reduced revenue collections. Our work doesn't end. The county will measure each month's trial balance data against the model to ensure the plan is properly scaled to resolve the imbalance. Those are critical words. We want to make sure that what we know today holds. If something changes, I'm calling him. And I mean that because if something changes, it means this model is beyond the reach of what we put in place here. And we're in a much different place than we predict now. That could happen. I did see that in 2008. It was dramatic. So I'm not expecting that. I'm expecting the reverse, actually. I'm thinking that by the end of the fiscal year, maybe by April when we meet again, I'm being optimistic. I think we'll see some trends in the interest rates that are more favorable. And then the transactions and the fees that flow will be favorable. The committee should know that we have sufficient reserves to address any major shifts. Our stabilization is strong. You should know my proclivity as a trained fiscal officer. I do not want to touch stabilization ever. It'll be to save jobs or basically just keep lights on. It is beyond my reach right now to imagine me doing that. So fear not, I will protect the stabilization. My instincts are to add to it. So that's where we're heading with that.
And John, just remind us, where are we with stabilization?
Great question. I'll give you an answer right now. We're at $6,084,181.92, give or take. Barbara, that's 16.8% of your omnibus.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Okay. On to slide 8, go. So as we have now confronted this revenue issue, the county comes before you with a request that the commissioners earlier today voted favorably on relative to supplemental needs. The department heads know we're in a tough shape. They're not here to lick the plate. They were asked to give us only necessary items. There are 3. Wollaston has dead trees on the property that must be removed. These trees are a danger to roofs, structures, and netting. Those are major assets of the golf course. We took the funds associated with, skip over the auditing piece. We signed on a new auditing firm this fiscal year. And one of the things that we recognized immediately was the FY 22 audit. The timing of it was so far behind, we needed to accelerate Powers and Sullivan's actions on it. When they heard our concerns, they said, well, it might make a lot of sense to do FY 22 and then immediately after that, FY 23. Our bond rating agency would like to see an audit by the end of December 2023, at the end of this month. So Powers and Sullivan began working on this in late October, early November, and they expect to have the audit done by the end of the month. They're going to jump right into FY 23, so that by the end of this fiscal year, we'll be in a great position to have caught up with our slow arriving audits. As a result, however, we're going to incur essentially 2 fiscal years of expenses at once. And so we need $60,000 to cover that expense. Facility maintenance, as I started to state, you folks approved funding in September for a new district court elevator. The bid came in at $283. In a minute, you're going to see a transfer request. We went internal to resolve most of this deficiency, to try to find surpluses where we could to close this gap. We found $66,092 internal. So those transfers are on the next page. But the gap is 16,908 that we desire to close that obligation on that very, very important life safety project at Dedham District Court. So 3 items in the sub. On page 9, slide 9. As I mentioned, this is the transfer piece. You can see the results of moving money around within departments to scoop $66,092. Remaining pieces are to close obligations. Slide 10, briefly, some of this is redundant to address these. The county's hired a new auditing firm. They're beginning FY22 now, hopefully 23 in the spring. We also are exploring a new electric vehicle charging station grant through the state. We're targeting the Dedham/registry location as the proof of concept. This will be no cost to the county. The county's been monitoring revenue activity. This bullet basically captures the plan. Savings of approximately $335,000 have been identified today within our operating budget that we believe we can set aside and not spend. That includes a host of positions that will not be filled. All right, that's the hiring freeze impact. It could be more. We'll see how that all plays out by the end of June, but our fiscal team has said we know these dollars can be set aside. Right? And then finally, we're going to continue monitoring these funds. With minimal liquidity from existing and remaining supplemental funds, the county will evaluate the use of other interest-bearing accounts or stabilization accounts to resolve any problems that may occur down the road. The last slide is the motion, Madam Chair, Mr. Chairman, when you are prepared, but I'm also prepared at this point to take any questions from Finance Committee.
I'll open it up to the floor. Anybody have any questions?
John, just more of a clarification with the, with the hiring fees, the spending freeze, all that good stuff that you've been doing. How is that affecting delivery of service?
The hiring and spending freeze was voted upon by the commissioners about 4 hours ago.
Okay.
So we have not digested that, but we did go through a spending freeze at the end of 23, early 24. It does impact things. There are little nuisance things. The way we crafted the motion was for spending related requests that may be interpreted as discretionary, non-discretionary. They come to my attention and I'll call balls and strikes on those.
Okay.
For hiring incidences, those go to the personnel board / county commissioners to see if any of the hires rise to the level of urgently needed in order to deliver services, as you correctly pointed out. So I think we built in some safety guardrails around that. But I don't think I think it's safe to say there'll be an impact to some extent on what we do. We're aiming to keep the buses running and to keep services level, but we are not going to be putting in carpeting. We're not going to be doing anything that's discretionary at this time.
Now, with the reduction in the revenue side at the registry, presumably there's probably at least sufficient personnel to handle what's there. Are we getting to the point where we're gonna look at perhaps cutting back there?
At the registry?
Yeah.
I don't see that. No.
Okay,
No,
that's fine.
no, I don't. I do want to make one comment. We had a county commissioners association meeting last week where the various counties that are still intact in Massachusetts meet, and we learned that Plymouth County is doing the same thing. They're going through I think it's a hiring freeze right now. I don't know if it's extending the spending, but they are in the same, we're all in the same boat. The registry fees in each of these counties drive so much,
Okay.
and we're not alone, so.
Okay.
So all these registries are seeing reductions there.
They are. Plymouth's taking action. Dr. Childs will recognize this from our shared state experience. The way the state handles this, mid-year is the time to act. It's now. Don't wait until the problem gets worse. Recognize it now. 6 months is a good run rate. It gives us enough time to collect services, do what we can, but no one's here to hide it. So.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
What were the two firms, John, that were audited? What was the audit firm, and did they end with the fiscal year or calendar year?
Lynch Marini was the outgoing auditor. They completed the FY21 audit and then they resigned. They had a 3-year contract. They completed 2 years and resigned. We rebid, and Powers and Sullivan came in, I think it was October. So they're picking up FY 22. And incidentally, just for the finance committee's notification, there's a how do I say this? Lynch Marine is contesting the last payment that we owe them. We owe them approximately $12,000. $12,000 is being withheld because the firm notified me verbally that they were going to share all product generated during their audits with us. That includes material that was given directly to them during the FY 20 audit that we deem highly necessary for the county's operations. Upon the closure of the audit, Mr. Rob Lynch told me, I told you I would evaluate that request. I didn't tell you I would. I have a very good memory, and that was not what he said to me. So I have opened up a complaint with the state board of accountancy about this dispute because it's a space I'm not overly familiar with. I'm not an accountant, but I believe they generate any material generated in an audit that we paid for, it is our material.
Yeah.
So we'll let the state call the balls and strikes on that. But in the meantime, that 12,000 is in escrow. We've exchanged letters that say, I'm right, you're right. Here we are. So just in case you hear anything from that former auditor, it's a dispute. Okay.
Well, there's a difference between work in progress and work product should be turned over at request. Work in progress, I can see them saying, well, we have to wait till we're done before we give you at least that's. Anyway, any further discussion, any further questions? Mr. Ridden, any questions?
I have no questions. Thank you.
Okay, so I will take a motion on recommendation to the full board. To the
So
board.
moved.
Better be the motion then.
I mean,
Motion must be read.
Okay, so the motion would be to recommend to the Norfolk County Advisory Board the fiscal 24 third budget adjustment totaling $163,715.30, inclusive of the supplemental and transfer costs.
that was his motion. I said,
So Joe moved, and you have a second, Paul second. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, roll call vote. Seal?
Yes.
Mr. Connors?
yes,
Mr. Reardon?
Yes.
Dr. Childs?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. So we are with that, ladies and gentlemen, on that one. Did everybody get a chance to look at the minutes? Maybe a motion on approval of the minutes from Wednesday, September 13th.
13.
So we motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, Ms. Seal,
Yes.
Mr. Connors.
Yes,
Mr. Reardon.
Yes.
Childs.
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. So we are good with that. I don't believe we have any emergency items, so I will take a motion to adjourn.
So
Second.
Motion in a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, Ms. Seal,
yes.
Mr. Connors.
yes.
Mr. Reardon.
Yes.
Dr. Childs.
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Okay. All right, so we have everybody in yet, Bill, you're still letting in.
Everybody's in.
Everybody's in. Okay, thank you, sir.
Franklin on the film.
Okay, all right. Welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for coming out this evening and happy holidays, everybody. I'm gonna call the meeting to order and let's start with a pledge of allegiance and then we'll do our roll. Oh, Mr. Connors, can I indulge you to lead us? All right.
The flag behind the monitor.
Yes, okay.
I pledge allegiance to the flag.
United States of
America.
To the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Okay. I've just got two housekeeping issues before we go to the roll call. The first one is we apologize for the delay earlier. We had some technical difficulties. Thank you all for your patience. But this meeting is starting on time, fortunately. And Mr. Martin I understand you have something you'd like to say to the advisory board. You're welcome, thank you.
For those of you who don't know me, I'm John Martin, I'm the superintendent here at Norfolk. I know at this time of year, it's been a long tradition that 0.7 was distributed to members of the board of trustees and other members of the advisory. This year, we have discontinued that practice. I hope that doesn't disappoint anyone all that much. 0.7 we're not growing yet, so I felt that it was a little disingenuous to distribute plants that we weren't actively growing ourselves. So this year, instead of 0.7s, what I do have as a gift from our staff and our students are bottles of Mediterranean herb and sea salt blend with a little logo of the Aggie and the ingredients on the bottom. And I don't have my glasses with me, but I can tell you that we did not mine the salt, did not grow the pepper, we did not grow the oranges. However, everything else in the bottle is Aggie through and through.
Oh,
So hopefully you'll enjoy this with your perhaps a Christmas meal or maybe for dinner tomorrow night. It goes on pretty much anything. I'm gonna leave 2 boxes of these in the hallway. Please take one on your way out.
thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you for both of us.
And again, my apologies, this building was constructed in 1917. The heating and cooling systems are what they are.
It's rather warm.
It is. And I apologize.
It's all right, okay. All right, thank you so much. You got the next one? Okay. Ms. Cyril, are you ready?
Ready?
All right.
Okay. Avon.
Here.
Bellingham. Present. Braintree. Brookline.
Here,
Canton. Cohasset. Dedham.
Yeah.
Dover. Foxborough.
Here.
Franklin.
Here.
Holbrook. Medfield.
Here.
Medway.
Joyfully present.
Millis. Milton. Joe.
I'm here right now.
Okay, moving on. Needham. Norfolk.
Here.
Norwood. Plainville.
Present.
Quincy.
Yeah.
Randolph.
Here.
Sharon.
Yeah.
Stoughton.
He's on his way.
Okay,
He's on his way.
okay, Walpole.
Here.
Here. Walpole is here?
Yep, here.
Okay, Wellesley is here. Westwood. Weymouth. And Rentham.
And Needham is here. Needham just arrived. Needham just arrived. Needham came.
Okay, Needham's here. Okay.
66.02.
Oh,
yeah. Okay, so we have a quorum. All right, thank you very much, everybody. We have a quorum. I just want to, welcome her. Thank you. I was like, where are you? I want to welcome Rick Fitzpatrick, who's representing Quincy, because Chuck can't be here tonight, but I understand you're also going to be representing going forward from Norfolk, right?
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for all. Big shoes to fill, Rick. All right, okay. Our next item on the agenda is the FY24 third supplemental budget and transfer request. And I think we'll start on that with.
You're gonna fire. It's fine.
Thank you. Okay, that's gonna be a cold one. We'll start with you, Director Cronin. Thank you so much for this presentation.
Thank you, Madam Chair. To the members of the advisory board have a copy of the presentation. If so desired, we'll also have one here. Everybody feel like this one? Yes? Yes. Okay, great. To begin, good evening. It's a pleasure to be with you. I'll ask Bill to go to slide 2 to show the agenda. In addition to the typical supplemental transfer requests that accompany this quarterly meeting, this evening I'm here to discuss a revenue update that is of importance to the county's business, and that'll be the first item I get to. After our supplemental transfer needs, I'll briefly talk about observations ahead, followed by a motion proposed for this body. On slide 3, Bill, if you'd be so kind. The county treasurer produces a monthly trial balance report, and as we are guided by that data related to revenue collections, it is showing a decline in receipts against our baseline. Our team has assessed the data collected to date, and it mirrors the real estate reality that many of us recognize is associated with rising interest rates and U.S. Treasury actions to curb inflation. While the budgeted FY24 revenue categories were largely level against FY23, the precipitous drop in collections this fiscal year have shown a projected shortfall of $1,062,281. Slide 4, please, Bill. This slide shows the corresponding reductions in several of the major revenue categories associated with our FY24 budget. There are two major registry areas showing declined revenue impact. The first is the registry transaction fees. Against baseline, we are again projecting through June 30th, what we know today holds, a reduction of $778,000 below bench. We also have against benchmark on the deeds excise estimate over $917,000 below our estimate. You'll notice, however, on miscellaneous receipts, a positive number of $613,000. That is the registry, that is the rent we are collecting from the Commonwealth to the Quincy District Court rent this fiscal year. As many of you know, we sold the building to the Commonwealth last year, but we continue to operate it. So the state is paying us back an agreed upon amount in fiscal year 24 for those expenses. So it is very much one time, but it is offsetting much of our projected provisions. Also, I just wanted to call your attention to one other item on this list, the reimbursement shared services income. We budgeted $279,353 for this category. We had projected at the time that was CARES money that was being reimbursed to the county. We actually received it in FY23. We thought we'd get it in 24, it landed in 23 from the state. So that shows us a miss. But overall, if not but for the reduction in these two large collection areas for the registry, we would be favorably positioned today. So that's what we're facing. What is our plan? On the slide 5. Utilizing the majority of our remaining FY24 surplus plus savings from a spending and hiring freeze, which was voted favorably by the Norfolk County Commissioners earlier today, the county will be able to offset the deficiency through responsible mid-year fiscal management. Following your September 13th meeting, the advisory board the county had $961,000 remaining. Our plan includes setting aside $730,000 of this surplus, plus savings of approximately $335,000 that we project will be yielded from the spending and hiring freeze. That will close the gap today. This plan will result in an FY supplemental balance of just over $144,000 for the remainder of fiscal year 24. If you go to slide 6, Bill, I'll show a before and after view for your benefit. You can see the September position juxtaposed to the December. We had a balance of $961 following your business. Today, if you vote favorably for the proposals before you, we will leave with $144,000 in our supplemental balance. It's important to note between the hiring freeze and what is effectively a set aside of $730,000. We're not doing anything with that money. We're just not spending it. We're setting it aside. It becomes effectively free cash at the end of the fiscal year. Many of those who like that term. So to conclude our plan to address the revenue shortfall, we'll continue to monitor the impact of the revenue collections. These numbers, by the way, are through the end of October. That was our last snapshot of data from the trial balances. The county will measure each month's data against this model to ensure the plan is properly scaled to resolve the imbalance. about an hour ago, I mentioned to the finance committee, these terms are important. What we're doing today is trying to put in place a solution to a deficiency that we know within the scale that we know. Things can change. We don't know what it will look like in February or March or April. And if it does change, we'll immediately contact the finance committee and put things in motion to address it. We will have a follow-up report for you no matter what by April 2024, which is your next scheduled meeting. And then finally, the advisory board should be aware that the county has sufficient reserves to address any major shift in these projections that may require more aggressive solutions. In the finance committee earlier, Mr. Earl asked how much was in the county stabilization fund. It's over $6 million. So we have sufficient liquidity to address and any impact up to that amount. Moving on, beyond the revenue piece, I wanted to briefly touch on the supplemental and transfer needs. Our department heads were asked to keep their requests to an absolute minimum of necessity. This evening, we're asking for your approval of 3 supplemental items. The first is for the Wallaston Golf Course to remove trees associated with our roofs on several of our facilities, as well as some netting. Our superintendent has remarked that these particular trees are likely to fall, they're dead, and they need to be removed immediately. One item that I believe the advisory board is familiar with, the county has moved on to a new auditing firm, Howard & Sullivan, as of October of this year. They have begun their FY22 audit. They are going to hopefully complete that by the end of December, this December, and move immediately into our FY23 audit. Consequently, we're incurring 2 years' expenses at the same time. So we need to substitute or supplement that contract to the tune of $60,000 to accomplish that task in this fiscal year. And then finally, in September, this board approved funding for the Dedham District Court elevator. We put it out to bid, and the low bid came at $283. In a minute, we'll ask you to examine some of the transfer requests within departments. The largest part of that is our efforts to find $66,092 within existing appropriations to help close this gap of funding need. Unfortunately, we're still going to need $16,908 from supplemental funds to achieve full balance on that obligation. Slide 9, as we wind down on this presentation, shows you the list of proposed transfers. As I mentioned, most of them are associated with our efforts to find funds within existing appropriations to remedy our elevator support. The observations ahead seen on slide 10, some of them are redundant. I mentioned we hired a new audit firm. They're doing 2 audits in FY24. We're also going to be exploring as a county electric vehicle charging station grant through the state. This is more of a complementary service component, costs nothing to the county, but it will provide electrical charging stations initially at the Dedham Registry location, hopefully more on that in the spring. Item number C is redundant, but we are using a blend of savings from the hiring and spending freeze with the surplus to balance out our deficiency. And finally, we will continue monitoring revenue trends. We have plenty of stabilization funds to address any major concerns that may emerge between now and June 30th. Slide 11, Madam Chair, is the proposed motion before your board. And at this point, I'll be happy to address any questions of the members. Thank you.
Are there any questions of Director Cronin? Okay,
Just one quick one, it's sort of good news, I think. On the revenue projection, that the only other big variance was 359,000 for deed, and it's positive variance. The dedicated deeds excise, I just wondered.
I don't have the information on that. That comes through the treasurer's office. We don't have any information on it to suggest that it's above bench. That's all I have. I'm afraid, yeah.
That's fine.
Yes.
all right, other questions? Mr. Polito?
On the hiring freeze, are there any jobs open now that you're not filling, but we,
Yes,
where are they?
primarily in facilities.
Yeah, okay. But downside of that, by not hiring them, what about the building maintenance? I mean, we got the stuff out, I'm hearing it. Buildings are old, and need a lot of work all the time, so we gotta,
Right.
not doing custodian in, and then sub it out, you know. I heard before, we're not that much in staff on that maintenance staff anyway, but can people, I'm just, What is working on your desk, but that's on, you know, I don't know what the buildings are, what the staff, I don't know, but. County maintenance staff, you might be doing some other stuff.
So a couple things. First and foremost, we're not subbing out anyway.
Okay.
But you bring up a point that came in under the finance committee as well, which is, what's the plan for, extraordinary expensive, spending needs or hiring needs? The motion that the county commissioners approved today, has two off-ramps. The first is for any request for spending associated with existing budgets that is not considered, at least on its face, necessary, will come to me, and I'll evaluate whether or not it goes forward for FY 24 spending. For hiring, any department head or any hire that needs to go through the same test, that request goes to the personnel board, which is also known as the Norfolk County Commissioners. They'll evaluate whether or not any of those hires get through under these terms. So we feel like we've built in some safety valves in the event that we need to spend money or hire individuals. But I also want to call attention to a couple of things. You folks approved the FY 24 budget that included 3 vacant positions that were funded for facilities with a plan that we were going to try to build on vacancies up to 5 to avoid laying off facility workers when Quincy District Court closes. Okay. I think, but I can't recall, I think I informed you folks, but I will now if I did. The state put out to bid the new temporary location for the court staff in Quincy to go this past summer. They got no bids. It was in Quincy. They then broadened the search area to include Braintree, Weymouth, and several other county communities. And that bid was due back to the state in mid-November. I frankly don't know how successful they've been getting alternative locations, but the state has given me the sense that they were hopeful to find about 48,000 square feet to put the existing county court operations into, and then they'll close Quincy District Court. And if you've been through the build out of any kind of facility like that, you can appreciate that building 50,000 square feet of mostly administrative, but some specialized / holding will take time. If the state is successful in finding that location before the end of this month, 6 months is a reasonable time for them to build out that space and have it ready for occupancy this summer. So if we did our homework right, we could have 5 vacancies ready for facility people to move into without the risk of being laid off effective July 1st. That's the plan. So I just want to let you know, you all approved a budget with 3 vacancies. We just had 2 retirements, so we've achieved that goal. And our hope is to hold that, collect the savings in FY 24 against this burden, and then use it to soft land these staff when we expect to close Quincy. Okay?
The custodians work at Quincy Court, where are they now?
They're still there. Oh, yeah, they are. We're performing everything we did before.
Still in Quincy Court working in the building?
Yep, and that's why the state's paying us.
Okay, that's what that might come from.
Exactly.
Nobody's in there, anybody in there, the court's still operating?
Very much so.
Oh.
The second busiest court in the state.
Okay. Okay, can you give me an update on the audit, the $160,000, I mean, the firm we have now did 2021, okay? The money,
Say that again.
I'm talking about the audit services, okay,
Yeah, yeah.
$60,000. What the money you budgeted for 22 and 23, why are we looking for, I mean, what's the money for 23 year? 24 year budget wise, I'm saying.
No, I lost the back end of that question.
We paid this for a while, okay, we paid their bill. Was it above the budget amount that we owed that firm for the last 21 audit? I'm trying to get, why we have $60,000 more, there should be money already budgeted in the budget.
Sure. Oh, okay. I understand your question. I apologize.
I don't come out.
So
I'm not questioning the firm, I'm just saying, you know, why.
the old firm had a 3-year contract to do 20, 21, and 22. They did 20 and 21. The results are on our website. 22, they resigned from that last year of their obligation. They chose not to do that service.
Can they do that legally? I don't.
Yes, they did. Mutual agreement under the
Oh, what's
contract.
that, mutual agreement, okay.
So in, I think it was September, we bid out the services and we then signed on Powers and Sullivan. So Powers and Sullivan came in roughly $50,000 per year to perform our audit services. We had $40,000 budgeted to do the FY 22 budget. And we need 10,000 to complete that, plus the 50, Tom, to do the 23. This is 60, okay?
I mean, Powell and firm did Bluegills I'm on in town of Denver, but I think the firm is a good firm, you know, I'm saying, I don't know personally, but then I've been in front, I've been inside table with them, you know, and they've all been
We,
good reports, we get good reports from them, but the books have been good too, but they were thorough. That's all I'm saying.
the county's used Powers and Sullivan, since 2021 on the ARPA grant. They were doing programmatic reviews, second seat. So we've got a lot of experience with them that way too, favorable.
And why was the 21 done so late? Is it the old firm?
It kind of precedes my arrival. Members of this board may know better, but when I was here, we started the FY20, we went right into the 21. They wrapped that up in the summer and they said, that's it for us. So I don't have a better answer as to why we were so far behind. It preceded my arrival.
So we're behind 1 year?
I would say two. The 22 audit should have been done. Every audit should be done no later than 18 months after the close of the fiscal year. So that's the standard.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Any questions from the folks online?
Good.
Okay, all right. Okay. All right,
Hello?
oh, I'm
Hello?
sorry, missing,
Hi.
who am I? Who are you addressing?
Dr. Childs?
Yes,
Helen Donahue, I just wanted to let you know I'm here. I'm just having trouble with my computer.
thank you, Helen, we're glad you're on, thank you very much.
Okay, so I'm on the phone. Thanks.
Okay, we've got. you
Bye-bye.
there.
Bye.
Anybody else on Zoom that wants to say anything? Okay, I think Mr. Beckman, we're ready to hear from you as the chair of the finance committee.
So the finance committee met earlier, and we went over the numbers as, George had explained. The finance committee is recommending this proposal, in its entirety to the advisory board favorably.
Would you like to make a motion, Doctor?
I will.
Okay,
So Madam Chair, I will make a motion to approve the fiscal year 24 third budget adjustment totaling $163,715.30, inclusive of supplemental and transfer costs.
a second to that?
Second.
Thank you very much. Okay, all right, I do believe we do have to do a roll call vote. So,
Avon,
Aye.
Bellingham,
Aye.
Braintree, Brookline,
yes,
Canton. Okay, sorry.
Jump right into it.
Okay.
You just please start on the one.
Sure. Avon,
Aye.
Bellingham,
Aye.
Braintree, Brookline,
aye,
Canton, Cohasset, Dedham,
Aye.
Dover, Foxborough,
Aye.
Franklin,
Yes.
Holbrook, Medfield,
Aye.
Medway,
Yes.
Millis, Milton, Needham,
Aye.
Norfolk,
Aye.
Norwood,
Yes.
Plainville,
Yes.
Quincy,
Yes.
Randolph,
Yes.
Sharon,
Yes.
Stoughton,
Yes.
Walpole,
Yes. Sorry.
Wellesley, yes, Westwood, Weymouth, Rentham.
I am 69.78 unanimous. That includes it all.
great, thank you. Thank you very much. The motion passes. You're all set for that agenda. All right, our next agenda item is
I'm on a computer call.
pleasure of hearing from Sam Evans, our Chief Information Officer, and I wonder, Mr. Turner, would you like to introduce?
Thank you. Sure, very briefly, members of the advisory board, we felt it necessary to bring before you an update on the county's consolidated technology division of departments that has been with us a year. There are a host of issues that this board discussed upon the creation of the consolidated IT department that are now coming into focus. Sam presented this to the commissioners earlier today. It's very brief. I just think it's important that you see the fruits of your labor and the planning that goes into making sure that Norfolk County has a very strong and well-managed IT department that benefits all departments within the county. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Director Cronin. I have copies of this. If you didn't get one, I can give it to you. All right, everyone's good. So on this slide here, here's what we're going to talk about. Just two things: progress made and what's next. Just wanted you to see some of the vendors that we work with. Just, this is a small sampling of them, but these are our biggest ones. We're going to spend some time today talking a lot about Tyler, which is the maker of the software that the county uses for a whole bunch of stuff, and Brown Tech, which is the software that the registry uses for most of its work. But we'll talk some more about that. All of the work we're going to talk about today is performed by the IT team, which is Dan Caporotto, who's been with the county for 10 years, and Mark McDonald, who's been with the county for 20, and Dallas Bray, who started the same day as me, so he's been here just over a year. So we'll move on. Could you go to the next slide for me, please, Bill? And everybody online, I'm sorry you can't see me. I'm standing in front of the TV. So this, just so you can see a little bit of, this is a new thing that we have for Tyler. So the Tyler is the name of the company. They put out software. If you've been on the board for a while, you've heard it referred to as Budget Sense, Infinite Visions. Now it's called School ERP Pro. If you know, ERP is Enterprise Resource Planning, which means it covers a whole bunch of stuff. So for the county, it handles budgeting, purchasing, human resources, payroll, and a bunch of other stuff. So we're trying to make it do more things. And one of the things that we're going to roll out pretty soon, we're just about to start a pilot, is this thing, which is called the Tyler Employee Access Portal. So the software itself has a huge amount of data in it, but employees can't get to a lot of it. And so over the years, they have to, if you want to take some time off, you got to fill out a piece of paper that says, I want to take a sick day next week, and I want to take a vacation for 4 days in 2 months. And then Michelle has to deal with checking everything in the back end of Tyler. So this will allow people to go in. It will show them, I'm sorry, it's a little fuzzy, but you'll see it on your piece of paper. It'll show you how much time you have, and you can get some more time information over here. You can request it right here. And instead of filling out a form, when you're ready to submit it, it goes to your supervisor checks things out. And then when your supervisor approves it, then it goes to Michelle right in the system, and we eliminate some paper. It does a whole bunch of other things. It will show you anything that we want to tell you about here in your resources. It will show you your tax documents. It shows you your pay stub, your most recent pay stub. So it's an online view into all the information that people are getting on paper, or they have to go and bother their supervisor or Michelle. So this is going to be rolling out soon. And that's one of the things that we're trying to do to make Tyler a more accessible piece of software. You can go to the next one for me, please, Bill. These are some of the things that I want to go over them with you, each one of them, so you can look at them on your thing. But to try and make everybody in the county have equal access to things, we gave everybody who didn't have email, which is a bunch of folks, a county email so that they can get notifications from HR about benefit fairs or a new offering or something that's happening with their benefits. So everybody has that now. We're still working with the golf course and to get them inside of our network for cybersecurity reasons. And we've been trying to work more with the school IT folks so that we can share cybersecurity information and help protect each other. And we work with engineering, for instance, to help with some extra hardware stuff. I'm going to go to the next one for me, please, Bill. As I'm sure you're all aware of, cybersecurity is always a problem for everybody. So we've spent a huge amount of time this year trying to strengthen all of the endpoints and exit points for our networks to make them better. We increased our cyber insurance policy for ransomware coverage and did a whole bunch of stuff, including education in the county and buildings and the registry. We published earlier this summer an IT policy that covers a whole bunch of stuff. We're strengthening our passwords and all sorts of stuff to make sure that the security is good in the county and all throughout. Trying to see if there's anything there. Yeah, that's good. Go to the next one, please, Bill. And these are that policy applies to everyone in the county. The administration building, the treasurer's office, the registry employees, everybody, the facilities guys. These are some specific things that we did in the registry building this year. We upgraded a bunch of the staff computers with the registrar's help. And we are taking the email system that the registry employees do have, which is an old one, and we're upgrading it to Microsoft Exchange, so it's more secure and faster. So that'll help everybody there. And we are putting in some new backup tape technology that's faster and more secure, so that things will be more secure all over the place for our data in case there's any problem with that. Next one, please, Bill. This is something that we've been doing on both of the main systems. We call it optimization. It means we have these great pieces of software and we have to make them better. We have to use them more effectively. We have to take advantage of the things that they offer that make sense for us. So the School ERP Pro, again, it's a very large piece of software. It's used all over the place. Are we doing everything that we can with it? Is it right for us? So we put together an optimization team with representatives from all the different functional groups. We have Joe Doria, the assistant treasurer, Mr. Ryan Tosta, who does more than just count your votes. He is our budget guy, our HR director, Michelle, Mark, our IT guy from the county, our purchasing director, Nancy Rockwell, and her new purchasing, I don't remember what his
Fiscal special.
fiscal specialist, thank you. He's new to the county, but he has experience with other programs, so he's very helpful. We sat around and we figured out what are the essential elements that we need for a program like this? And then we can say, is the software helping with all those different things? It also helps us to figure out when we go look at alternatives, do these alternative programs satisfy what we need and do they do it better? So we've been looking at some alternatives. And then what will be helpful for you in April, I guess, when you see the new budget that's being proposed for you. We have a consultant who's been working with us for many years, Matt Abrahams. He's amazing at all kinds of software, but especially Excel. We've been working with the Tyler people to figure out how can we use the budgeting part of Tyler better. He's done some research on his own, and we've been working with Tyler consultants to figure out how can we get the data into Tyler and out of Tyler more effectively, and how can we make it look better. So we're hoping that in April, you'll see a nicer looking, tighter product for the budget. And I was just going to go to the director who has a good comment.
If I could, through you, Madam Chair, to the members of the advisory board, when you see our budget proposal for FY25, it's going to look a little different. Our goal is to streamline the content that you see over those pages. It's come to me over the last couple of years as I've been working on it that we have a lot of empty data sets, line items that aren't used, or opportunities for bundling line items so that they're more efficient in their use. This is common with a lot of budget developments as people review how they present this public data. So we're looking to use the expertise of Mr. Abrahams as well as our common knowledge to make our budget presentation to you more streamlined and informative. So expect to see a diminished product with more consolidated views of things that just make more sense and flexibility for use. That's our goal for upcoming budget.
And Phil spends a lot of time during budget season taking the data out of Tyler and moving it around. And so some of the stuff that Matt is doing is trying to take some of that time away so that Phil doesn't have to do that. So that's part of optimization. Take what you have, make it work better. We can go to the next slide, please, Bill. Same thing here for Brown Tech. So Brown Tech's been in place at the registry, I think it's 20-ish years. Software is very customized for what the registry needs. And we're just looking at it with the help of Rich Kennedy, who's been with the registry for many, many years, and Gary Lubin, same thing. On the land court side, things were suggested by the register. And we sat around and we talked, how can we make sure that Brown Tech's being used the same way? And we came up with a list of things that we could work on to make it better. All those things will be run by the register and his senior staff to make sure that there's no problems if we move forward on those. If you've never seen Brown Tech before, here's again, it's really hard to see on the screen, but you'll see it there. This is what a typical screen looks like. This is what we do when we send each month to your towns a list of the deeds and the plans and all that stuff to your assessor's offices. This is how we do it. So see, that's the list of towns that come up. This is, if you've never looked for the deeds yourself, this is the registry research website that comes up. So one of the things we did this year, there's nothing on the registry website that is protected information. You can look up anything you want. But when you went browsing there, some people would see something up here that said, the site's not secure, the site's not secure. And occasionally somebody would call up and have a problem with that. So with the registrar's authorization, we put a certificate on there so people don't see that anymore. So that's the kind of stuff that we do to fix things up. Okay, next slide, please, Bill. And this is one of the other things that we did. IT is doing a 3 to 5 year strategic plan, and we needed to talk to the Brown Tech folks who run the company to make sure how's it gonna fit in the next 3 to 5 years with Brown Tech. And we had a great conversation with them. The primary things that came out of that is their founder and their lead developer is sticking around for the foreseeable future, which allows their secondary person, Rita, who answers all the phone calls and helps with everything, to continue doing what she's doing. They have plans in place. If they need extra programming help, they have special relationships with IBM since the system is built on IBM. And everything went well with that conversation. So we have no near-term worries about the viability of Brown Tech. If you had read the Ripples report before, it said that the system needs to be refreshed. We have all that stuff in place when we're talking with Rich Kennedy and Gary Lubin. So that conversation went really well. I can answer any questions on that if you look through and have them before, but it was an excellent conversation. And we have no worries about the next few years with Brown Tech. And last slide, please, Bill. Here's some final things we're going to work on. We're going to finish our strategic plan, which involves machine learning, all the things you hear about. How can machine learning or artificial intelligence affect operations, primarily at the registry? If you follow any of technical news, there could be some use for AI or machine learning at the administration offices of the county, but nothing for us to worry about really. There's a lot of other stuff that's going to go on that will affect the registry operations, like optical character recognition and blockchain, all these things, but we don't know how that's going to pan out in real life. We're continuing to make sure that we're as secure as possible all across the county. We're going to work with school IT to make sure the same thing happens, and at the golf course. So we're working on that stuff. We're continuing to optimize Tyler. We have this thing for Tyler called the Tyler Content Manager, which is anything that's paper we can scan into the system. So you're working on something and you say, where is that contract that I signed 3 years ago? Some filing cabinet somewhere. Nope, it'll be all in the system. So we're going to put that in. We're going to keep working on the Brown Tech team to say, we think that it would go better if we cleaned up the menu or something. We'll talk with the team. We'll talk with the registry senior staff. We'll talk with Brown Tech. We'll see what we can do. And we're going to keep replacing older equipment so that things go faster. And that's it for me. Can I
Thank you.
answer anyone's questions?
Right, question, please, Peter.
For you, how backing up the registry's data now, is it on premises, off premises, both?
All, yep. So there's tape backups, there's backups to internal servers, there's backups at Brown Tech, which is in a town many miles away. And we're looking at, as I said, into faster tape backup, and the tapes are not kept on premises, they're taken away to Iron Mountain. So we have it covered all different ways.
But the off-campus stuff that's done, are there redundancies built into that as well?
Yeah. So the stuff that's at Brown Tech, it's there, and we have copies of it on campus, and we have copies on tape at Iron Mountain, and Brown Tech also backs up its stuff
How often is it backed up?
daily. And then
Yeah.
once a month,
Iron Mountain, how often does that go to Iron Mountain?
weekly to Iron Mountain, daily on our tapes. Brown Tech backs up daily. Then we do monthlies, and then there's yearly disaster recovery tests as well.
So is it safe to say that if there's a flood at the registry on a Friday night or a Saturday morning, I'm gonna be able to get that data someplace?
Yep. And because there's state laws, if you've been in the registry building, there's books everywhere, so all the stuff is in books, and it's also, because of state law, on microfilm. So if you had to recreate it somehow, you go somewhere and have somebody print out 8 billion pages, but it's all accessible.
Thank you.
Of course.
This system we paid for years ago, the system we talk about now, we paid for.
Which one?
Brown Tech?
Well, check it out, yeah.
Yeah.
So we're just doing, we already own the system inside the system already. So we're just doing some upgrades that we already paid for. All this you look at doing. not additional cost, so you pay for that in the first.
So there's fees quarterly for certain services that they provide for us, but the bulk of the system is paid for, yeah.
So we're paying, I'm not arguing about it.
Yeah, yeah.
We're paying, a monthly fee to put all this on one system. A new modern system, I'm saying.
Well, so the stuff that they, so if they come up with a new thing that they want to put out for us, I haven't been there long enough to know what happens if they say, hey, we have a fantastic new addition. I don't know how that gets charged. But the major cost for the system is, I believe you're correct, that's already been paid for. But
The
there's,
HR, is that new, it's a new system for us, was that our previous system we paid for?
Yes.
We all paid the HR.
Yes, there are, you may see down the road some, on the Tyler side, we're talking now, you may see some requests to fund elements of the system that enhance the use, for example, time and attendance or something like that, that complement the system. We're not there yet. We've begun the study of what we have to find out how do we harness this and make use of it without buying anything. All right, thanks.
Other questions, please?
Paul Brown, thanks, that was a great presentation.
Thanks.
Very clear, appreciate it very much. It sounds like great things are happening. I'm curious in working relationships part of it. If you don't mind me asking a couple
Sure.
questions. So do you sit in the registry?
Yes.
Okay, and do Dan and Mark also sit in the registry?
so Dan and I and Dallas sit in the registry, and Mark sits in the county administration building half a block down. But Mark comes over to meet with us and do some stuff, and the engineering and maintenance, for instance, are in the basement of the registry building, so we go back and forth. And if Mark is out, Dallas will go across the street to the county, so we cross-pollinate as often as possible.
And you're all electronically connected?
Yes,
Sure.
Yeah.
And things are going well, less arrangement?
yeah, I think so, yeah. So we're also cross-training, so Mark learns as much of the registry stuff as possible, and Dan has been training Dallas and I since we're new on all that stuff, and we're learning how the backup stuff for the county is handled, since Mark set that up. And since the county stuff for email is all on Exchange, and the registry is going to be moving to that Exchange, we're learning a bunch of that stuff from Mark. So yeah, everything's been intermeshed for the consolidation that we were talking about a year plus ago.
Sounds great, and I get a sense that your administrative skills equal your technology skills.
Well,
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Just to complement that answer, if I could, you're right, he's a gem, it's a pleasure to work with. This content that you saw tonight was reviewed with Register O'Donnell, Sam met with them
Monday.
earlier this week, so Bill contributed. Sorry, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Wait,
Thank you. Wasn't fiscal 24, I believe it was when we were here for the fiscal 23 budget. There was a question, I remember asking questions about, there'd been a drop for a number of years in fees from online transactions at the registry. And one of the things that I was concerned about was, do we track the number of interactions, the number of actions? So in other words, there's a fee schedule for what you need to do, and if you have a drop in fees, then theoretically you should also have a drop in interactions online. Are we able to track that any better at this point?
So I don't know all that much about the internals of the Brown Tech system. It is basically a database. So there's a lot of reports in there that I'm not really privy to them. So the answer theoretically is yes, but I don't have access to that. So if there were a request, I'm sure we could find that. Like they run reports the end of the night, so they know, how much stuff came in, did we have the cash for it? So the amount of transactions that are there for people who printed something, that is theoretically possible, but in this past year, I haven't gotten into the internals of that, how Brown Tech does that track. But yeah, you should know 275 people were printed out a deed or something today. So yeah, it's a database. All this stuff is front ends for databases. The Brown Tech system keeps track of everything really well. The front ends, even though it looks older, it's very advanced system. Everybody in that registry knows how to use it really well. So
That's what I've been through you, and that's what I would be curious about. It's been a couple of years, I haven't actually followed up on it, so I'm pretty thorough that way. But it's something that would be kind of interesting to see. How many people are actually logging in and accessing? I'm not 100% sure how the formula or how the process works in terms of, I know it's deposit, let's say, of funds, and then people can draw off of that. And maybe there's an evaluation tool that should be, is it better to do it on a per transaction basis so that there's a true, you know, a copy for copy piece? But again, that's an operational thing I don't want to weigh in on, but just in terms of the actual tracking piece would be something interesting to see.
We have two different, you can put in a set of amount of money and draw down from it. But then people can also go to that website that I had up there and pay on a per transaction basis. So there have to be a way to compile those two things. But again, it's all in that database. They know, the database knows how many people have done X. So how you get into that, we'd have to figure it out.
Gotcha, thank you.
Like, I mean, I think you know, you're asking an operational transaction question that might be more appropriate to register, to offer up information, empirical information about how those transactions equating to ultimately revenue. I can tell you, the data you have in front of you, that the online transaction fee account was projected to be 100,000 this year. And right now, we're projecting it to be 60,000. That account has dropped to virtually negligible amounts at this point. But if you're interested in operationally, why is that the case, and what is the registry doing on the front end? We only see what comes out of the back end. We don't manage the queries or the transactional data that comes out. That's a registry piece function. And if you'd like us to convey the question to him, we have to do that.
It's just pure curiosity, I guess.
Yeah, so
Especially as we're looking at the situation of declining revenues. You know, obviously you want to tie, one has to tie to the other. Pretty simple.
All right, other questions of Sam? Any questions from the folks on Zoom?
we're good.
All right, Mr. Evans, thank you
Thanks for your
so
time.
much. That was excellent. Oh, I wanted to just note that Charlie has arrived. Charlie Ryan, welcome. Thank you so much. We can mark him as present.
Thank you. Hi, everybody.
Okay. Anything else to add?
No.
Okay. All right. Okay. Yes. We'll go to the minutes next. Okay. Our next item of business is to approve the minutes of the open session on September 13th, 2023. I hope you've all had a chance to look at them. Thank you, Mr. Connors. Who was that second from?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Beckerman. Okay, is there any discussion, corrections, changes? Okay, hearing none, Mr. Olson.
Avon.
Aye.
Bellingham.
Aye.
Braintree.
Aye.
Brookline, aye.
Canton. Cohasset. Dedham.
Aye.
Dover. Foxborough.
Aye.
Franklin.
Yes.
Holbrook. Medfield.
Aye.
Medway. Millis. Milton. Needham.
Aye.
Norfolk.
Abstain.
Norwood.
Abstain.
Plainville.
Yes.
Quincy.
Abstain.
Randolph.
Yes.
Sharon.
Yes.
Stoughton.
Yes.
Walpole. Wellesley, yes. Westwood. Weymouth. Rentham.
What were the extensions about?
I have abstentions from Norfolk, Norwood, and Quincy.
And that way,
And Medway? I'm sorry.
Hey, we have unanimous with 13.59 stating. Not unanimous. But 61.28 yes and 13.59 abstain.
Minutes pass. Okay. That is it for our agenda of, just one thing I just wanted to mention under topics that we didn't anticipate would be discussed. I don't anticipate that there's any discussion, but it's just a remark. In your packet, we also sent you a letter from Scott Lopez, an exchange of information between our attorney and the register. And I just wanted to assure people that this is for your information. We have gotten a couple of questions about some of the things that have been in the press and how you might need to address your town administration. And you are free to share this. I just want to make that clear that this is not a confidential attorney-client privilege, public domain. And so if you have questions from your select boards, mayor, you are welcome to share this information, and we really give it to you as for your information. There's really no discussion about it tonight, but I just wanted to make sure you knew it was fine. Sure. Anything else under number 6? Yeah, just really.
In the packet, there was a capital appropriation. Dated fall 11/23, changing. I don't remember voting that tonight. Is that something that's on tonight together? Capital changes from their class to treasurer's furniture.
That was the motion that we would be 100 and. Yeah, that was the total of the amount that Eric read.
That excluded that? Okay, I didn't know.
That supplemental interest put together.
Oh, was that? Okay, thank you.
Okay, anything else?
Just want to, we had a conversation today, like a child myself, I just, I would like maybe next meeting to put those things on the agenda I talked about today with you. About the audit, the fiscal letter was the best fiscal letter I've seen. Talking about town manager and a few other ones, it needs some cleanup. We don't know why it's going on in the county fiscal responsibility. Even the money from the venture deeds, that's another issue going on. I don't make a lot of comments today on that. He tried to update me a little bit issue. But the past 2 years, he never all the way didn't go over, fired all went over. So I think we ought to be updated why. Really trying to do a little tenacity why it all didn't go over a separate account at the bench street, at the county. But the major letter, there's some accusations that wasn't all fiscal rights going on. So maybe we should, when we have an audit at schools in town, they come in front of the whole board. And we're the advisor, we're the money people here. They should come in front of us, somebody that over explain why the management letter was written like that. And it should be obviously, we're money, it's our responsibility at the end. We put the budget for the commissioners, and we hold the precedent of the commissioners. They spend the money we approve. So I think we should have to look at why they come up like that.
Well, Ms. Polito, you and I know we may disagree on this issue, but I will just remind a couple of things. The FY20 and the FY21 budgets are on the website, along with the letter of the peer review of the FY20 budget that was on. The peer review is on the website, so that is available for everybody's information.
You said budgets, you meant to say
I'm
audits.
sorry, I meant to say audits. Yes, you're correct.
I have.
Yes, so that is on the website. It's public information for everybody to look at. The issue for the sheriff's MOE, I think, which is what you were referring to, Mr. Polito, is an issue between the register and the treasurer. If we're going to weigh in on that, I think we need to make sure that we have that all that information. We should make sure that Treasurer Bellotti is informed and is able to come also speak about that issue if that's something we need to discuss. And we can look at putting that onto the April agenda. That's not something we could consider that. I think if it seems appropriate, I think we would check with the treasurer first. And the audit results of the FY22 audit we will have before the April meeting. And I think it might be very appropriate for us to comment on those at the April meeting.
Chair's pleasure.
Okay, yeah, I think we will make sure we put that on the agenda just as a report out on that.
Can we sure have
audit
two
report.
reports, 23, 23, you saying?
Yeah.
It might be cleaned up by the next report comes out. Although they do the other part of the work, it might be not the problem no more.
But
we have to balance it. It's still the same last 2 or 3 years, and we have to look at it.
well,
If they cleaned up, then it's not an issue.
there's nothing that can't be viewed and read on the website as it stands now from the previous audits. And then the other issues, I think, one of them we know is not for this board,
Right.
that's the Aggie Solar follow-up, and then the other one is the pension liabilities. And we are happy to always talk about what our plan is with that in any budget meeting, but that does affect our budget. So those are the issues. Any other comments? I feel like Commissioner Shea, I wondered if you'd like to say anything. I think the one thing I'd like to just say is happy holidays to everybody, and I wondered if you'd like to put it away.
I just want to say, of course, happy holidays, however, another year has gone by. I think we're seeing some of the fruits of the money that was expended with the reports that we did 2 years ago now. We seem to have our team in place in every way, shape, or form, and it's going to be the team we're going to run with here and at the school. There are a lot of new people, but we cannot do this without the input of all the cities and towns. I think we'll have more to discuss about reutilization. We had a report today from three departments, one is Sam, of course. Second was the golf course, had an excellent year. Golf course, we put some real money into just the end of the year. And it's paying for which is accountable. It's the fruits of what's come. The third thing is we have a department of weights and measures now with a full-time person representing 4 or 5 of these towns that are sitting here with us. Other towns want to join. We'll be prepared and able to give you a report on that. We're turning the corner on the APRA awards. Every city and town is aware of the timing, how much time is left, and how everyone knows what they have left to do to get the money in this year, to get their requests in. So we're always working with everyone. I think today, with the Ford that we did today, out of the 138 million, we gave out 98 million, which is out the door and working on. So far, we've had very little kickback. The team that was assembled by the 5 counties that got together on this legal team, financial team, everything's been well. So there's been a lot of economies and scales by everyone getting together on that. Hopefully, at the end of this, there will be, I don't know if Director Ron wants me to say this, but there will be for unexpended money, another way, which we don't know quite what it is at this point, for us to keep and utilize the money and rehash it. The worst thing we want to do is leave any money in Uncle Sam's hands. What we don't take from Uncle Sam's for a specific program, he'll take that. So.
But so all the money is going to that way.
Wait, tell me.
That was the plan.
I've already spent.
So it's been an exciting time, and we want to thank you. We couldn't do it without you. And, I don't know if anyone read an article in today's or yesterday's Global County thing. It was a little, it was interesting. I see it improving. I see regionalization becoming a big thing. So we want to be ready to do it. So I leave saying happy Christmas and thank you very much.
Thank you.
My Commissioner Peter and Richard here, of course, says go. We're ready to go.
Thank you, commissioners. We really appreciate your leadership. And Director Kernan, you have
Just one complimentary piece to what Chairman Shea said. All of your communities will be receiving a letter from me within the next month. The county ARPA award, as you know, is starting to wind down. All your grants expire June 30th, 2024 by design, so that we can snapshot of what's remaining, how the communities are doing with the advanced funds they received, and what's your plan to obligate and spend those funds for December 31st, 2024, 1 year from now. So we'll be asking and putting a lot of effort into, as Chairman Shea said, optimizing those funds so that if you cannot use the money, claw them back, redistribute them that way, and figure out ways to make sure that the county doesn't get back any money. But you'll be getting that letter hopefully in a month or so. All the counties are doing the whole thing. So we're on the same.
We actually, through you, apologize for the Cronin Memorial Field Track Program at high schools.
There's already one in Westwood, but.
Thank you. With regard to ARPA and the money that's out there, so I'm not sure if everyone understands it. It's not just money that comes into the county and goes out to the towns. The county is always responsible for the money. So that's why we have such stringent requirements that go to the cities and towns. We have to follow up with the cities and towns to make sure that it's actually being spent in the way that it's been designed to be spent. So we're not being nosy with the money after it goes out. We're actually responsible to make sure that it goes out the right way, or else we have to pay that out. We have to get it back from the town.
I just want to recognize Commissioner Stady also. Your comments in the paper were quite terrific. And thank you for doing that.
Well, thank you. I'm a little under the weather. My voice may not last more than 5 minutes, but otherwise I'd be up there. But that was a great article and talked to many people about why some counties are working and some counties are not. Some counties are still operational, limited to Wallace. I've always felt pride, and I think you share that with me. Norfolk County is well managed, and part of it is a team effort. It's what we have here. And it's interesting, we met last week with some of the different county commissioners in the areas. We had Barnstable there, Plymouth was there, Bristol was there, and so on. It's a great experience whenever you can interact with other officials. I know this is always a good thing. It's one of my favorite things. You talk to other towns, how you handling things, right? Well, the idea of getting there with the commissioners, you find out you have some similar things and get it done. What Barnstable deals with is slightly different than what Plymouth has. What Plymouth deals with is a little different than we have. But I tell you this, I know I'm a homer, but I'll tell you straight out, we're the best county. We've given more money out than any other county. We really are. We lead the pack as far as opera was. And now some of the things we're doing, like the sealer of weights and measures, they're coming to us and asking questions. They're thinking that's a great idea. So it's great to be in that position where we're sharing information and being looked at, with pride. I do that with pride. I'd say all collectively, we're a great team. So happy holidays, everybody. And don't get this laryngitis I have, but God bless you all. Thank you.
I think we had one more comment.
Just a quick comment, go on the ARPA money, the leftover money, at the end of June 30th, okay? So if every town has, say $25,000 left in the account, do we recoup that money and give it out and do what's other best? I mean, I want to know, how's that gonna work if every town has 10,000, say they can't meet the whole, there's always money, can't spend every dime, so there's gonna be some money left in every town. How's that money, as you say, we don't give back up to say, so how's that money gonna give out?
That is a great question. The true answer is we don't have a final answer yet. Where it's trending is if there's any, like if the community has an allotment and they get back to us with their plan for the use of what that allotment includes. But it says we unfortunately won't be able to use the $100,000 that was granted to us for this particular purpose because of whatever. We don't need it anymore, or we can't get the vendor to give us the work, whatever the reason. And they are returning it to the county. That money we put back into the pool. And then certainly by July of 2024, the county commission is going to assess what does that pool look like, Tom? So let's be reasonable for a second. It's $100,000. I'm not dividing that per capita across the county. That's ridiculous. It's more likely the commissioners will look at what the total value of that pool looks like to figure out we take this 10 million, it's 10, and redistribute it. That makes sense. Or do we target areas that the communities, who come back to us with a plan that says, in the event you have additional funds, we could use them towards these. We're looking at basically a reset position. The good news is it's not going to be a ton of money. I can assure you that. Most of the money will be obligated. Most of the money will be committed into the areas that have already been approved. But so we're going to have to really figure out what does that pool look like. That's the critical answer. So we don't know that until we get the answer back from the communities of what their plan says.
There's a law and there's a statute to follow that leftover, the government, leftover, is a statute, we have law, I mean, leftover money, is it?
Well,
Rules, I mean, is it some rules?
yeah, the final rule, of the American Rescue Plan Act does dictate how we can use the money and by when.
How about the balance? I just wanna.
Well, the balance has to be obligated before December 31st, 2024. That's the big rule. Then you got 2 years to spend it against that obligation.
One more fast question, I know we've been, have problem with the registry deeds. Income, because nobody's buying houses, okay? So in the past 3 years, we get a lot of income, extra income, we're above our budget. Was that extra money put in the reserve, in that account, so in the bad year like we have now, we draw some of that money out, I just make sure that's okay. That like an old free cash account, you put the extra money in that year, so that's what you did, the money years ago, we had plenty of money coming in. Over budget, not like over budget, we had surplus. So you put that money in the,
Your stabilization account has grown to 16.8% of your FY 24 budget. While my goal is to get it up to the ceiling, which is 20% according to our guideline. But yeah, you've almost doubled that in the last 3 years.
yeah, so if that year coming in, that in the fall, that,
My goal is to not touch.
we can come back and take money out of that account and that I'm just asking that question.
I think we should table that, because that
Well,
really is
I'm saying,
that really is
I'm
a
saying, yeah, but
discussion about
that-
how to deal with that.
Yeah.
We will tackle that when we're facing the numbers. Unless there's something else that needs to be said, I just want to thank you all for all of your help the last few months as I've gotten my feet underneath me. And I appreciate all of your wisdom, and I want you all to have a wonderful, blessed holiday. I hope you get to spend time with your family and rest, and we'll be back at this in April. So I just want to thank everybody and wish you the very best for the holidays.
thanks.
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you very much.
So,
Second, we don't need to vote, correct? We do? Okay, we do. I apologize, we do. This is why we do. Okay. It's you're on the back again.
I'll find my list. Okay, Avon,
Yes, sorry.
Bellingham. Braintree,
Aye.
Brookline,
Aye.
Hampton, Cohasset, Dedham,
aye.
Dover, Foxborough,
Aye.
Franklin,
Yes.
Holbrook, Medfield,
Aye.
Medway,
Yes.
Millis, Milton, Needham,
Aye.
Norfolk,
Aye.
Norwood. Okay, maybe not. Plainville,
Yes.
Quincy.
Yes.
Randolph.
Yes.
Sharon,
Yes.
Stoughton,
Yes.
Walpole. Wellesley, yes. Westwood, Weymouth, Rentham.
Unanimous.
We are adjourned. Thank you so much, everybody.